become an exciting owner of a business through franchising. And is this working?
No, it wasn't.
Is it working now?
No, it's not working.
All right.
Faulty equipment today.
Actually, they probably forgot to replace the batteries.
Probably.
I mean, Russell's one job as news director is to replace batteries and headphones, and he didn't do it, but that's okay. Well. All right.
What can we say?
But I noticed I get ads like these push notifications every few minutes about becoming an exciting owner of a business and get into franchising. And when you click on it, it lists all these different franchises. And I could imagine someone just saying, well, you know what? Yeah, I've always wanted to go into detailing. And they click on it and there's a $20,000 fee and they've never done it before, but they may have been successful as a manager. It's a big difference between being successful as a manager than starting your own business. There's a lot you have to take into consideration. And this is where, and this comes up several times a day. Why are you reinventing the wheel? That's what I say to people. Why do you want to reinvent the wheel? You're not that smart.
Most people are.
Most people aren't that smart to reinvent the wheel. They really aren't. Follow proven tactics and techniques, tried and true stuff that works.
Well, not only that, I mean, you look at a Department of Commerce statistic says that 82% of businesses you start from scratch fail. Okay. So when you look at that, why would you want to start something from scratch and have an 82% chance of failing? Right. That's a scary, unbelievable number to me. And so starting a business from scratch, yeah, that creates fear. That's scary. I mean, I get very hesitant about that because it just it's a very scary thing.
Well, what I like about your program, if we talked about this many times, this is Bruce Krebs. This is the Entrepreneur Hour, is not being scared, getting there with a 96% approval rate. Right. And that's what you have.
Yep.
96% success story. That is unheard of in any industry, in any business. And it tells me you're very careful and you're methodical about putting the person with the right type of business. And we talked about this. So for the individual that's on the fence, that's thinking about breaking away, becoming that entrepreneur, what would you say to them regarding their idea of, let's say, if they've been into the restaurant business for years and years and years, and now they want to own a car detail business, or they want to go into a maid service business, and so on and so forth, the hundreds of different franchises that are out there. What do you first do to make sure you're putting them in the proper place? And do you sometimes talk them out of what they want to do because really it may not be what they want to do, or it's not going to be as fruitful based on what they intend the end result to be, maybe retire in 10 years or sell it in 5?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, nobody really has a good idea of what they want to do. I mean, maybe 1 out of every 1,000 people will have an idea of what they want to do. That could be the right business for them, let alone, what isn't affected by the economy and what has repeat business and what about your reason to be against any and all competition. And really, it's scary to me to think about going out there and trying to find the right business and because you don't want to make a mistake. Because one of the things, if you go into business for yourself or you pick the wrong franchise business opportunity and it's wrong, it's a very expensive mistake.
Right.
It can be $40, $60, $100,000 that you're going to have to pay that loan back. All right. And so it's a very scary thing to make a mistake. So the main thing that I counsel my clients on is don't make a mistake and don't make decisions with your heart instead of your head.
No emotions.
Right? No emotions.
No emotions.
Now, I'll give you a perfect example. I had a client that came in Saturday with his wife. He's already decided the business he wants. She said to me, she isn't for him doing it. She wants him to go into business for himself, but she didn't think it was the right business for him. And she wanted him to go into a gunsmith business because he likes to shoot guns, fix guns, clean guns, and whatever. And that's the business he should go into. That's a horrible mistake. It's like if you like to cook and you like to make donuts or whatever, and to go open a donut shop or a cupcake shop because you like to bake cupcakes or cook donuts or whatever it is. It's a horrible mistake. Keep your hobbies separate from your business.
Right.
That's the issue. And what I said to her was, my client has great transferable strengths and he's a great project manager. So what I showed him was a great project management business where he's going to work on the business, not in the business. And he doesn't have overhead versus a gun store that has 62 competitors in this area and huge overhead with inventory and insurance costs and so forth. So at the end of it, she agreed with me, but sometimes I have to be very intellectually honest with my clients, meaning if I don't like their idea, I need to tell them why.
Even if you're going to lose the business.
Even if I'm going to lose the business,
right?
You got to do what's right for your client. You got to be willing to walk away, and that's really the intellectual honesty of any coach. He has to tell people things that you don't like to hear.
Well, I wanted to. We're going to talk about how to get $150,000 just on your signature. By the way, so $150,000 if you're driving down the road or listening on your cell phone or at work, could be yours just on your signature with no collateral. That means you have to put nothing up, no risk, no personal guarantee. I'm going to be getting to that in a minute. But before we do that, there was a friend of mine that's been in radio for years and years and years. And he called me, maybe 10 years ago and said, I'm going to move from Texas and get into the jewelry business. I'm not kidding you. And I said, Dave, this is the biggest mistake you'll ever make in your life. What do you know about jewelry? He says, nothing, but the business is making all this money and so on and so forth and cash flow. And I'm like, dude, all you've ever known is radio. Do not do this. You are going to lose money. 1 year later, he lost almost $500,000.
Right.
$250,000 up front. If you have no clue, there was no franchise. There was no game plan or rule book. He did his due diligence. And listen, just because you do your due diligence doesn't mean you're going to succeed. Which means, I've looked into their books and it looks good and the numbers are here or that. I'll tell you, I got bought one station years ago because I can't say this for other business, but radio station owners and general managers typically lie by about 20%. I found that across the board. All right. So it's just the way it is. If a radio station owner or general manager tells you he's doing a certain number, he's lying by 20%. And they fudge the books because they're an accountant. I'm not an accountant. Yeah, I'm a dopey disc jockey. I'm not an accountant, so I don't know these numbers. So I walk in and everything looks good and there's fancy accountants there and so on and so forth. And I said, I want to see all your deposits for this year. Well, we don't need to see that. We've done our due diligence and blah, blah, blah. It'll take all day. I said, I have all day. They were 20%, 22% short. And I said, the number comes down $200,000 or I leave. Because you can't fall in love with it. You always have to be able to walk away from the table when you're doing a deal. Don't fall in love with anything that can't fall in love with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, you find that that's one of the things.
But is this where you come in where you're going to do due diligence for them through the franchise?
Well, absolutely. You're going to look at the numbers. You're going to put together projections, pro formas based on not what I say or the franchisor say, but if you're looking at buying a franchise tab, you actually can go talk to the owners. The franchisor can't tell you who to talk to. So you can talk to 5 or 10 or how many ever franchisees that you want to understand from them how much money they made, how fast, and what's their gross and what's their net and how long it took them to break even and a series of things. You do all the due diligence on your own. That allows you to put together a pro forma that you put that budget together based on what you think you can do based on the demographics of your
and when
area.
you say you're going to help them with that and they can help people. Because I can tell you this, I've owned businesses, many of them. When I hear pro forma, my head explodes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a numbers guy. It bores me. I don't like deal. I'll make the money. You count it. You understand what I'm saying? So don't be afraid. You may not know what a pro forma is. You may not be a numbers guy. Hire someone that is. Maybe it's your wife. Maybe it's your girlfriend. Maybe it's your husband.
Well, all you need
maybe
is
it's your boyfriend. Maybe it's a good accountant, right? Yeah. And you know good accountants. We have one right here.
Right. Absolutely.
Eric Pelton.
Well, the CPA that I use is right upstairs from the station.
Right. So don't be afraid of that. The biggest thing in business that I've known, you have to have the desire. And then everything else will fall into place. Would you agree? You have to have the desire to be independent.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're going to run the business. You're going to make the presentations, the quotes, the estimates, and send crews in to do work and invoice, collect money. But all of that detail could be billing, could be collections, could be doing the books, could be paychecks. All that thing can be outsourced to an accountant.
Can I tell you something? People that are good at that don't know how to run businesses.
No, absolutely.
I found accountants and people that are really good with numbers and can do that. are clueless with running business, or at least radio stations,
Right.
Even engineers. I've known engineers that have owned stations, and they're numbers people.
Well, the key thing is you have to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your core competencies, and you have to, at the end of the day, when you go into business for yourself, you have to enjoy doing whatever it is you're going to do in that business every day. And all the other things you need to outsource and have somebody else do if you're not going to do it, if you don't like it. But more so, the focus of the business owner has to be on growing the business, growing the top line, not balancing the checkbook at the end of every month.
And you sitting there or driving down the road thinking, and I know you have, what is my future? Because America has become, and this is what it's about, graduating from high school or college and getting that job, and every day doing the exact same thing, getting the exact same results with the exact same paycheck, maybe getting a Saturday off, maybe getting a Sunday off, maybe taking a week vacation, and then not knowing what the future holds because it's in someone else's hands. I mean, look at the airlines where they went bankrupt, and don't think your money is safe. It isn't. When these companies go bankrupt, guess what the court does? It allows your savings to go away. It allows your retirement to go the way. You're not safe. I mean, the only area you may be safe in is if you work for government, but even at that, with the economic turndown, people have lost their jobs. And what is about to come? People will lose their jobs. So you're sitting there thinking about, what is my future? What does the future hold? What can I do for myself? And, you only have one life. And this is an opportunity to live. There is nothing like running and owning your own business. And that comes from someone that worked for people for many years, and you did too, Bruce, making them a lot of money. Right. I worked just as hard with my business as I did with theirs, but I reaped the fruits. And I had the pride in doing what I did because it's my business. But I wasn't building it for someone else. Because when you work for someone, you are building it for them. And let me give you a secret. Typically, this is what they're doing. They're building the numbers up to sell it. And guess what? When the new people come in, you're fired because they want to bring their people in. So work as hard as you can for the man, for the woman, for everybody else. But guess what? You're not building your future.
Well, I soured on that. The company I built for a family, myself and my management team over a 20-year period, built it from only a couple $1 million to $250 million. The business sold. We tried to do a leverage buyout. They wouldn't do it. They wanted to sell it. So they sold it for $180 million. And myself and my management team got zero. Now, when that happened, I very much soured and said, I am never going to, even though they paid me nicely, I said, I am never going to build a business for someone else, have them sell it, and I get nothing. I would much rather.
Absolutely.
And I was, working 7 days a week and traveling all over the world. And that was crazy. And so what most people don't realize is most people today in corporate America are really living by the definition of insanity. They're doing the same thing over and over again, and they're going to expect different results.
Right.
That is, if you're making $50,000 a year, you're going to keep making $50,000 a year, and they're going to cut your benefits, cut your insurance, cut your 401k match, do a lot of things. Or a lot of the people that come to me that are in sales today, they're getting their territories cut, they're getting the commissions cut, or the company gets bought and they bring in their own people. I just had a client that walked in Monday morning, they closed the company. You're out of a job, no severance, nothing. Because, today any employee is a free agent. And under our laws of our country, you can be let go at any time for any reason. Yeah. Right? Now that's sad. So the whole issue is being independent, doing something on your own, building equity. But at the same time, maybe you want to do something part-time or passively. Maybe, there's some opportunities where if you have 5 or 10 hours a week, you and your wife keep your job and spend 5 or 10 hours a week over a weekend or a couple nights a week doing something to earn incremental income, make another $50,000, $60,000 a year just to do something incremental. In other words, keep your job, keep that safety net,
right? But
stick your toe in the water and begin to understand how a business works and do something part-time. In the 13 years I've been in business, there's only one opportunity that I think is any good that I show to clients that truly fits that kind of criteria of 5 to 10 hours a week and making good money. But again, you have to learn about these opportunities. People can't be scared to learn. People go to, they go to school, they go to college, they get degrees to learn. That's what you're doing, is learning. And in business, you're learning every day. And so my advice always is meet with me, talk to me, learn more about opportunities so you have a plan B in your life. And also, we said before, today, our government has made it unbelievably easy to go into business for yourself, because from the Small Business Administration, you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral and no money down, basically. It's a 10-year amortization with no prepayment penalties. So you can pay yourself through the startup, you can pay a franchise fee, and have a safety net. The client that I talked about on Saturday morning, the total cost to get into his business was $60,000 between the franchise fee, startup, training, paying himself for 6 months, and making a loan payment for 6 months. He had another $90,000 just sitting there that he could use for anything he wanted, or if he doesn't use it in 6 months or a year, pay it back with no penalties. It's a totally win-win situation. But now people can get the money to go into business for themselves, where in all my years in the business, they have not been able to do that.
Finally, the government does something right.
Amen.
And how much do they put aside every year for this?
There's $30 billion a year.
Okay, now this is interesting because, I don't see why anybody who even thinks about getting into a franchise wouldn't jump at this, because, you think $30 billion is a lot of money, but the government's going to spend what, $3, $4, $5 trillion next year?
3.5 trillion.
Trillion dollars. And they say that, but it's really 4 or 5 trillion, because they're going to go in debt more. So that's a drop in the bucket compared to what they spend on the federal budget. So I think they do it, once again, to create the illusion that they're helping small business. And most people don't know it. And in a sense, people like you that have found that have given your clients the opportunity to get almost free money, in the sense that there's no personal guarantee. There's no collateral put up, that they're going to pay it back while they're in business. But if for some unknown reason they can't pay it back and go belly up, there's no personal guarantee. They can walk away. However, what you've explained to me before is, if someone wants out, typically they can sell it. Absolutely. And that's why you have a 96% success rate.
Absolutely. Yeah, because in a franchise, you get exclusive territory. So you have an asset that can be resold. If you go open your own window cleaning business, hypothetically, and a year from now it goes belly up, you lose everything. Whereas if you have a window cleaning franchise, then one, there's a franchise fee, you're going to get most of that back. And secondly, if you build up any database, any current customers, have any repeat business, that's the goodwill that you're going to get paid a multiple of. So you actually can get much more from the business when you sell it, because you have an asset to sell and the goodwill to sell. But you're absolutely right. $30 billion a year is really nothing. I mean, we were spending $20 billion a month in Iraq and $20 billion a month in Iran. I just don't want people to think in terms of, okay, well, that's a lot of money. It's really not true. Well, in terms of the federal budget, it's not a lot of money. So it is true. But I'll tell you, interesting thing. In September, this $30 billion got used up, because this is such a popular program. And usually if any bill has to come through Congress, it could be 6 months or a year between the Democrats and Republicans and the president and whatever. When the SBA, because this has been such a successful program, when the SBA money ran out and they went over the $30 billion in the first week of September, a bill for another $8 billion to get through the end of the year went through the Senate and House and was signed by the president in 5 working days.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
And one of the reasons they want to do this is because, and this is the reasons why the communist Chinese are inviting capitalism in, because if there's a business there, they're paying them, not the government. And when you hire employees, the government wants their tax dollars.
Correct.
This ultimately, they're not being magnanimous. They want you to put people on the payroll so they can sign up for Obamacare, get their own private insurance, but ultimately pull that money out of their paycheck. The income tax from FICA, which is called Social Security, and the federal income tax, and the state benefits and the local government benefits. So they're not being magnanimous. They're doing this because they believe that these businesses will flourish. They will hire employees. Those employees will ultimately pay the federal government, state government, local governments.
You're absolutely right. I mean, 90% of businesses are being they're the ones that create jobs. They're the job creators. If you look at big companies today, every day in the news, you see that Microsoft is laying off, or Procter & Gamble is laying off, or a company is merged and let go 40,000.
Look at Walmart.
Or Walmart's closing 275 stores. Or now look what's happening in the oil and gas industry right now. All right, jobs are being lost left and right. But you know, the number one job eliminator today is technology. If you look at technology, it's eliminating jobs at a very rapid pace. We used to have assistants and secretaries and analysts and
don't need it anymore.
Don't need it anymore.
No.
Right? So there's so much.
You can do it right here with your smartphone.
I mean, you can even banks today. You can go walk into a bank and there's no tellers in many banks.
We talked about that the other day. I was talking to David about that. Is these banks create the illusion that there's money in there. They have these big fancy buildings, these big fancy offices. When really the currency they keep on hand, try to pull out $6,000. They have to order it, and it comes in on a Thursday. There's no gold and silver as money. 90% of all transactions, the 95% all day, are non-currency. It's all digital money, if you will. And I just say that for people being able to understand that it's really not money. It's monetized debt. But all this is created on the computer. So the building is basically a facade. So now my question becomes, can I start a bank franchise? I want to be able to open up a bank and create money from thin air and then charge interest for it. You think I could do that?
I think that infrastructure and the laws and the insurance, it would
probably couldn't do that, right? So that's one area I can't get into.
No.
One other thing. Can I own a bridge? I've always wanted to own a bridge.
Well, you probably tried to buy the Brooklyn Bridge before. But
did you ever cross a bridge and go, I wish I could buy this? All the people putting in $10, everyone that crosses them. And I did the math. I'm like, oh my God, they're making millions a day. I want to own the bridge.
Well, we're going to probably sell the bridge to the Chinese. You know what's scary is the number of U.S. corporations that the Chinese is buying in buildings. And you know that last year, just about every port in the United States was sold to the Chinese.
They own the Chinese own it.
They were just about made the sale. Now, how does that get past Congress? I don't know. But anyway,
it's called money. What is your phone number, Bruce? Bruce Krebs. This is the Entrepreneur Hour. Bruce Krebs, Entrepreneur Source. What is your phone number?
423-875-5621 is my office for anybody that wants to come in and have free assessments.
And what's really important is your website.
My website is the best thing to do is send me an email. And I'll send you my website, LinkedIn, Facebook, everything.
Okay,
it's
what is your email?
Period, E as in Edward, period, Krebs, Krebs, at Comcast.net. And then I'll send you everything. It's easier.
Okay, I'm going to get you a Gmail account.
Okay.
We're going to make it so easy.
It's the same email address in Gmail.
What is it again?
Bruce, period, E, period, Krebs, Krebs, at gmail.com.
That's even better.
Exactly.
Because everybody does Gmail.
Exactly. Do the same thing. But interesting note. Looking at 2015, the number of franchise businesses increased 3.9%. And the number of people that are working in franchises today is now 8.6 million people. And there's 859,000 franchise businesses open. That's staggering numbers. Just staggering. Doesn't include business opportunities and other things. But when you look at the fact that it's such a staggering number that it's growing and it's growing every day, and the outlook for 2016 is even rosier of being able to grow, because if you look at franchising, it can't be outsourced. It's primarily a service business. I don't care whether it's auto, tires, dry cleaning, food, or the service businesses that I like. They're not going to move into Mexico or to China, and they're not going to be affected by the oil and gas industry or Wall Street or those kinds of things. And that raises a really good point. Think about your investments. People are happy getting 4 or 5% or 6% a year. Well, now with the stock market the way it's been, most people have lost 10 or 12% or more this year.
Right.
If you go into business for yourself and you can take a $50,000 investment, and let's pick a number, make $100,000 a year each and every year for the rest of your life, and sell it for 3 times pre-tax profit plus inventory.
Good deal.
how else can you get a 200% on return on your money, either your money or the money you get from the SBA each and every year the rest of your life? It's a phenomenal investment.
No. And not only that, what you're doing is you're helping people. You really are, because capitalists are really the true, I guess you could call it charities. Charity to the extent of, I don't think just giving somebody something is charity.
No.
What is charity is education, allowing people to do something for themselves and make money. And if you're a capitalist and you use capital to hire people to do a good job, to feel good about themselves, and they have money and they go to restaurants, and those restaurants make money to hire more people, and so on and so forth. So by owning a business, you actually are charitable. We have the opinion here that business people and capitalists are charitable because we provide goods and services that people want and need. So don't think in charity in terms of, because I know there are a lot of patriots out there, think in terms of, well, money is evil and we don't want too much money and so on and so forth. We want to live off the grid. But before you do that, you have to become successful. Before you can live off the grid, let's say there's a lot of people out there that want to live off the grid, Bruce. They're sick of the system. They're tired of it. Do you know where our second most listened to audience comes from on this radio station?
No.
Russia.
Really?
Russia. We have almost as many listeners in Russia as we do in America.
No kidding.
And I think that's because they're hearing the voice of freedom. If those Russians could be here and do this, they'd be breaking your door down because they see what has happened to them. America is going the way of the Soviet Union, where let's not talk about the Politburo and government controlling all businesses, but let's talk about modern day capitalism, that international capitalism, Chinese companies controlling all businesses. They parallel each other. So the Russians see what's happening in America. It happened to them, but it happened to them with government. Here it's happening to Americans with corporate, I call it corporate communism or modern day capitalism. They didn't have a way out. We have a way out. The way out is the opportunity to own your own business, to control your destiny, to control your future. The only thing you have to say is yes, because it's not going to happen tomorrow. But how much is it going to cost me?
Well, the real scary thing is if you're listening to the show and you're 45 or 50 or 55 years old, and whatever you're making per year, all you got to do is very simple math. If you look at what you're making, you and your wife are making, and you look at how much you're saving per year, and you look at what you're saving, you look at how much is in your 401k IRA, and you look at where you want to be at 65 when you retire, 85% of people today are not going to reach that goal of having enough money to retire comfortably in the same lifestyle they want, because you can't save enough money to save for retirement and have the same lifestyle you want and so forth. Now, that's really scary to me, simply because if 85% of our population isn't going to get there, then you got to do something else. You got to do something part-time, full-time, passively, whatever.
Unless you want to be a greeter at Walmart.
Well,
at 65 or 70.
Really scary. It's really scary. I mean, I've had clients that are in the early 60s and mid 60s that have come in, and they're trying to live on Social Security, $1,800 a month. And even though a house is paid for or whatever, you can't pay your taxes and your insurance and your gas in your car and everything else, let alone if something happens to you. You can't live on Social Security or a small amount of money.
You know what, Bruce?
So
I think it's done purposely. I think it's done purposely. Because when you're 65, you're considered an eater. You're no longer contributing. And a lot of people die between 65 and 70 when they retire because the left calls them useless eaters because they're no longer contributing. And they really want you dead. I'm going to say it right here. This is not Bruce's opinion, but my opinion. My opinion is the system wants you dead at 65 plus because you're no longer contributing, not giving them anything. So get one up on them. And this is a program and I looked into this, what Bruce does, that you're not going to give any money out of your pocket. It's $150,000 if you qualify. And it lasts months. You're not just going to show up at Bruce's door and say, hey, I want a franchise. Where do I sign up? You're going to develop a relationship with Bruce. He's going to talk to you in depth many, many times with you and your other half. He's going to determine what he thinks you really need, have that conversation, and then put you with the franchise that works. And I know you have success stories, Bruce, as these franchises grow. Share a success story with someone that maybe worked for corporate America, that, you know, he was screwed, it failed, and finally decided to take it upon himself to make the decision. That's the most important thing you can do in life. If you look at the big picture, you'll never take the step. I tell this to everybody. When I talk to someone that does that, I say, well, you're a lawyer with all these contingencies? Take a step.
Well,
take another step.
Well, yeah, it gets back to the adage, you have to learn more to earn more, you know? But, you know, I've had so many clients that have come to me that are in a desperate situation. A perfect example. You just asked me for an example. I have a client who is 59 years old, moved here 2 years ago, and thought he'd have no problem getting a job. He was not able to get a job in the last 2 years. He has gone through all his money. He's down to the point where he had 5 months of basically money to pay himself and pay his bills. 5 months, that was it. And he's out of money. And he can't take Social Security yet. So he was in a horrible situation. So when you look at, not only could he not be able to buy groceries and gas in 6 months, he hadn't saved for retirement. He was just in a horrible situation, and his wife was partially disabled and couldn't work. So long story short, he is now came out of training last month, found the right business. He got the $150,000 SBA loan. He only needed 60 of it to go into business and his training and corporate setup. And now he's out making money, and he's got $90,000 left sitting there. Wow. He doesn't have to worry about being running out of money. One of my clients I was just talking to David about was that he's 56 years old, great career in the carpet industry, and thought he'd have no problem getting a job. He talked to me about a year ago. You know, I'm going to have no problem getting a job, but I showed him some other opportunities anyway. Right. Now, a year later, after 60 interviews and over 30-second interviews, he hadn't got a job. And he said, I'm tired of this. I got to do something on my own, because corporate America, one, doesn't want me, but they're going to want me less every year as I get older and older. So, I mean, I've got, you know, Sandy Crofty was on the show. 30 years she worked for a company and they let her go. Right. Why? Because she was making too much money. Very simple. You know, she was at a pace.
Don't go on vacation if you work for corporate America.
Exactly.
And you've been there for a while.
Death go on vacation when I was in corporate America.
Yeah, but you go on vacation. That happens in radio all the time. You go on vacation. Somebody that's better than you is on the air at half the price. Right. You're gone.
Right.
There is no loyalty when it comes to money.
Absolutely. And we're seeing that over and over again, that male or females in their 50s or 60s are getting let go. If they're making $100,000 a year, they're replaced with someone in their late 20s, early 30s at $35,000 a year. We had it happen in our free press and at our paper here. Same exact thing happened. What
excites me about what you do, Bruce, and this is what we do as a radio station, and we vow to bring to the people, is to help the listener. That's why we're here. We truly, through our advertisements and through our programming, want to help the listener. We want our constitutional republic back. We want people to take control of their lives. And one thing I love about what you do is you consolidate what takes years to learn. I was in broadcasting since I was 16, and it took me 20 years to learn my trade through working with the best people in the world. 20 years where I felt competent enough to start my own radio station. And I still failed in many instances, lost a lot of money in some instances, made some money, made mistakes because I didn't have a franchise. There's no such thing as a radio franchise. So you're allowing people to skip all those steps of working for great people, having mentors, throwing that all away, saying, this model works. Look at the working model. And that's what a franchise is. It's a working model. So here's the working model.
Proven system.
Proven system. This fits you. The NFL is a franchise.
Right.
NBA, we're carrying Super Bowl 50, one of the largest franchises in the world. We're carrying.
All the pro sports teams are franchises. You can own, you can run the Dallas Cowboys. You cannot own the Dallas Cowboys. You can own a Dallas Cowboys franchise,
right?
But they show you how to do everything. I mean, Coca-Cola is a franchise. I mean, there's so many things that people don't even understand that are franchises today. But you're right, absolutely right. If all the pro sports leagues are franchises, you have to follow their system, their guidelines, and you did salary caps, whatever it happens to be. You can't just go run a rogue and do what you want to do.
I have to tell you, as a business person for many years, I would say you'd have to be crazy to start your own business without a franchise. Well, I mean, if you're passionate about it, like you said, make it a hobby, because I've seen it over and over and over again where someone has a great idea. They invest all of their money. We see people every day. Oh, this is a great pet shop. How'd you start? Oh, my husband passed away. I had $150,000 and I put $100 in the business. Well, wait a second. You didn't even go to the bank and use it as collateral against no, I put it, and you're paying yourself as an employee and you've got 3 employees. Oh my God, you'll be out of business in a year. Because they've never done it before. Well, and just let me tell you, I want to sing your praises. Here's where Bruce comes in. He's done it. He knows it. That's why I'm passionate about it, because we want to see you succeed. We want to see everyone who can do it to be in business. Bruce has got that knowledge from the Entrepreneur Source. The Entrepreneur Source has been there for years. His success rate is 96%, $150,000 on your signature. But you have to be committed just to make a phone call and say, I'm interested, and sit down. It doesn't cost you anything, does it? Does it cost them anything out of their pocket?
No, it costs them absolutely nothing. And the other thing that's interesting is the fact that this process, for all the meetings we have to have and all the due diligence you have to do, is going to take you 3 or 4 months. It is not a decision-making process at all. You're educating yourself over, is there a franchise or business opportunity out there that fits you and all your criteria?
Right.
At the end of it, you can decide to do it now, in 6 months, a year, or never. But at least you're going to understand what your plan B is in life. And the other thing is very important to remember is that I recommend to all my clients to go into a simple business, not a complicated business with a lot of moving parts, a lot of employees, a lot of overhead, a lot of equipment. I mean, I had a meeting with a client yesterday, and they said, well, we'd like to get in the shredding business. And I said, really? Well, why? Well, because I get government contracts. And I said, okay, a shredding truck cost a little under $200,000 just for the truck. Then all of your bins and your warehouse and your other vehicles, all of a sudden you're at $500,000 to $600,000. What? Well, they said, well, I didn't know it cost that much. Well, why not get into an industry, as an example, if you want something like that, where all your business comes from insurance companies? And there's many things, fire water restoration companies, all kinds of things, or all your business comes from the insurance companies, or many different avenues.
You don't need a lot of equipment.
But spending $400,000 to $500,000 or $600,000 in equipment and overhead makes no sense to me, let alone there's a lot of competition.
Oh, yeah. I was looking at one time obtaining a Dunkin' Donuts. Just to do something different. I was living in an area. I like donuts. I was living in an area where there were no donuts. And I'm like, why don't I open a Dunkin' Donuts? Not knowing anything about it. I'm a radio guy. And they said, well, you need to be liquid, like, $750,000, and it costs you $500,000. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. How many donuts I've got to sell just to pay the debt service? Are you nuts? Plus all the fat people in my restaurant eating up the food, even the profits up. People behind, actually the people who work at Dunkin' Donuts, I've never seen a fat one behind there. But they're I jest. But my point is, you can't, how are you going to make any money?
Well,
but you don't recommend restaurants.
No, and you bring up a good point. The other thing, besides the simple business, you need a lot of products, services, and income streams. And at the same time, when you think about donuts or cupcakes or whatever, you got one product. And what happens if all of a sudden, when you look at the health conscious side of America,
the trend goes away.
You don't want anything where the trend of that business can go away. We have seen that go away and change with technology and eating habits and healthy eating habits and a lot of different things. You put your whole business at risk when you're in a single income stream. Or what if a better concept, a healthy donut concept, moves in next door?
Well, I have a great idea. Maybe we can franchise this. Fat-free, gluten-free, calorie-free, wheat free. That doesn't have any junk in it at all. It's ice
or cardboard, one or the other.
It's free. It's free of all that stuff. Your money in the bank will get you 2%, 3%. The feds already admit they inflate their targets 3% a year, which means if you have money in the bank, you're not making any money every year. You may be losing purchasing power every year. And now you've decided, okay, I want to make my money work for itself. We haven't delved into this much, but we're always talking about how you can get $150,000 on your signature. But let's say someone went through a divorce, their credit is not that great. They can't get the $150,000. However, they've got $100,000 sitting in the bank, or $250,000, or $500,000. What does that person do?
Well, first of all, if your credit isn't good, you need to go to credit repair. And I can help people, my clients, go to credit repair. The second thing is, besides the $150,000 you can get from the Small Business Administration, there's many other things you can do. One of them is most people don't realize they can use their IRAs or 401ks. And let's say you had $100,000 in your IRA or 401k and you're 50 years old. You're not going to need that money for 15 years or more. Under today's law, you can take that $100,000 and take it out of your IRA, 401k. You technically are buying stock in your own company. It rolls over into your business.
So no penalty.
There's no penalty.
Wow.
There's no penalty. There's no taxes, and you don't have to pay the money back. All right. Now, so that's called debt-free financing. All right. It's called an ERSOP, which stands for Entrepreneurial Rollover Stock Ownership Plan.
Bruce, you're a really smart guy, man. You're getting into all this stuff. It's like you're making my head spin.
So
IRA, thingamadinger, digger, winger. But all I want to know is I got money in the bank. Or as they say in Philly, all I want to know is I got money in the bank, That's right. I got like 125 grand, and I want to start a business. I'm sick of working for these guys here. What are you going to do? IRA, CPA, GPA? Just help me. What do I do?
Well, first of all, you got to find the right business.
Okay.
Then we'll figure out.
I want to wash trucks. I want to wash trucks.
No problem. Can do that.
How does that work?
But I'd never recommend you wash trucks.
Okay.
Because you want to work on your business, not in it. Pay guys $15 an hour to do the work. Otherwise, you're paying yourself $15 or $20 an hour to do the work.
I love this. Sense. See, now Bruce hit on something that I often talk about, and that is when you buy a business that typically isn't a franchise. Guess what you just did? You bought yourself a job.
Amen.
So the person that's worried about buying themselves a job,
doing the work themselves.
We're not talking about that when they're a franchise. How does that differentiate between buying yourself a job when you buy a business and getting into the franchise opportunity?
Well, again, when you start a business and you start it up, you get sucked into the work and you really don't know, one, how to get your clients and customers, do the marketing. Two, when you hire people, you don't know how to do background checks and credit screens and all kinds of things. You don't know all the HR policies and practices, and you end up hiring the wrong people. And then you don't know their pay plans, and you don't know how to get those people, where a franchise hands you that.
Right.
One, the marketing piece, how to get your clients and customers. Two, all the HR policies. They show you what websites to go onto. There's specialized websites for their businesses where people that want jobs in that industry, how to get them full-time, part-time. It shows you how to do background checks, as an example, credit screens if necessary. It shows you how to hire them, the agreements they're going to sign for non-circumvent, non-compete, and basically what their pay plan should be. And they show you everything. You don't have to worry about it. You might go spend 2 months trying to do that yourself and come up with the wrong plan, where a franchisor hands you that policy in every aspect of the business, whether it be, think of estimating, just the estimating process itself. You're going to go out and give an estimate, and you start a flooring company or you start a radio station. How do you know how to estimate the cost of a radio ad or whatever the service is?
If you've never done it before, you don't.
You don't. You make mistakes, and all of a sudden you find out that you're doing it below cost.
Do you know how you make a fortune in radio? A small fortune in radio?
No.
Start with a big one. But no, what you're saying is, how do you know how to do it? Exactly.
So just like the estimating system, a franchisor is going to show you. You input the square footage, you input the whatever it is,
right,
and you're going to come out with a price that has your profit in it. Because in their formulas, it says what you're going to pay guys and your cost of goods, because they call it SG&A. Basically, that's all of your costs. And then all your costs are listed. Let's say your costs are $50 and you're going to sell your product for $75. You're going to make $25 per hour per job. So, but all that's in there already. You don't have to figure it out yourself.
It's done.
So even the accounting, the books, the QuickBooks, the accounting programs, whatever it is, it's all a part of what you acquire. And they train you. And you not only go through classroom training, they field train. They actually come in and go out and make calls with you, help you hire employees, help you train your craftsmen or employees. They help you get jobs right away. They go out and call on accounts with you and get jobs. They show you how to enter everything. I mean, they hold your hand through the startup, and that's the critical thing. You're just not out there by yourself. And the main thing to remember, if you call me and go through assessment, it's going to take you 3 to 4 months, and it is not a sales or decision-making process. All you're going to do is educate yourself.
Right. You don't have to sign any paperwork saying they're going to pay you.
Nope.
For your consulting.
Not. Nope.
How do you get paid?
I get paid by the franchisor.
Okay.
So just like if a headhunter.
But so you have to be successful. If you send people that are unsuccessful, that looks bad on you.
Well, to a point. But the main thing is that if a headhunter gets you a job, the headhunter gets paid by the company.
Right.
I get paid the same way.
Right.
The franchisors compensate us, but we guarantee you in writing what we receive, you never pay in any way because it's public knowledge what a franchise fee is. We get a part of it. That's all. Very simple.
So it's important that you set the right person with the right franchise.
No question. Because
that's probably the most important item in this whole process.
If I don't show
that it's a good
clients
marriage,
things that they see themselves doing every day, all right, that they're going to enjoy doing every day, is it out of their comfort zone and would they ever thought of it? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, it has to use their transferable skills and strengths, and they're going to have to enjoy doing it every day. So when they begin to investigate the ones that I have shown them, at least there's a level of interest and they want to learn more. They get it. There's a connect between A and B.
Have you had a situation where an individual has expanded to a second or third franchise through you?
Absolutely.
Give me an example of one of your best success stories in that.
Well, I had a client here, and actually there's a franchisee right above us in this station, Window Genie. The original client, his name is Brad Roberson, came to me, and he bought Chattanooga. Then he bought the Cleveland area and the North Georgia area. He built them up, and then he sold all 3 territories separately for literally 3 times what he paid for them. Then what he did...
You can't get that in the bank. You can't get that in the stock market.
In a year and a half. Then he bought the area development rights to all of Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama, which means as the area developer, he didn't own a franchise anymore. All the franchisees that came on board, he was the field trainer. He would help them. He's the one that came out after you come out of training and help you get your business and quotes, and he would hold your hand for weeks or months, but he got half the franchise fee and half the royalty. So actually the person that he sold his franchise to, one of my clients, is right above us here. There's 2 of the vans sitting right out here in this parking lot at this radio station for Window Genie. And they have a tremendous amount of income streams, from window film to cleaning windows to cleaning decks, power washing the stuff off your house, or cleaning your tile and grout, and it's residential and commercial. Commercially, the windows of every building are done every couple of weeks. Restaurant kitchen floors are cleaned.
That's built-in earnings right there.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of things, but my client here, his name is Reggie Suits. He had been in sales before, and he got downsized at 55 years old. So that's the kind of thing where there's a first territory, second, third, sell it, and then having area development rights. That is a tremendous success story.
So I could see many tiers here, many layers, depending on how far you want to bring it. Comes back to being an entrepreneur and how much do you want to put into it? How much do you want to get out of it? Do you have to be a business person to do that? Do you have to have managerial experience to get into a franchise? Have you had clients that have no managerial experience, have just been laborers or workers that are now owners?
I have clients that have been 25, 26, 27 years old. One of the Window Genie people who bought Brad's business in Cleveland, Tennessee here was 28 years old. And many times, though, I will have someone who's running a press or driving a truck or whatever it happens to be. And they don't have any managerial skills, but two things. One is the franchisor is going to train them. And secondly, we provide our clients with two programs that we developed through Michael Gerber called AIM and FAST, which stands for Franchising Accelerated Success Training. So you can learn about client acquisition, customer service, how to read financials, how to do pro formas, read a balance sheet, read a spreadsheet. And there's all kinds of things where we actually will help them in addition to the franchisor. And that's paid for by that program paid for by the franchisor, which is 30 hours of online training. So it doesn't matter. What's most important is, do you have the motivation to do something on your own? And if you do, again, the type of business is gonna greatly differ, but there's something out there for everybody. Introvert, extrovert, or truck driver or business executive.
So if you follow the plan, the successful plan, you won't have to have the profit visit. Do you ever see the show The Profit?
Oh yeah,
I love that show. And then maybe you can eventually become the undercover boss.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
What do you think of the show The Profit?
I really liked it. I like Shark Tank. I like the undercover.
But is he brilliant on the Profit?
Absolutely.
Where he can. I've never met anyone that could go into multiple businesses like that. He's almost like a franchisor times 1,000.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about Mark as a brilliant man. But I look at that and say, if they followed the plan, if they had a franchise, because all these people none of them are franchises.
No.
Do you notice that?
No.
They have a great idea. And then when they're successful, they go, oh, I want to open a restaurant up. I want brick and mortar.
Yeah.
They're successful with, having a wagon, a little cart selling, there's no overhead. You don't have to pay insurance. And all of a sudden, well, I think we'll start a restaurant. What? Yeah. Are you crazy?
Exactly.
And when you look at shows like The Profit, you can avoid all those downfalls and risks with a franchise because it's a proven entity.
Right. Exactly.
And what is your phone number, Bruce?
My phone number is 423-875-5621, or anybody wants a free assessment.
Give me that again.
423-875-5621.
This is the Entrepreneur Hour. Bruce Krebs, Entrepreneur Source. $150,000 in your pocket, on your signature, to start your own business. As the Chinese say, and as we've said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Don't look at the big picture. Take the step. Gain knowledge. Be educated. And then you can make a decision that benefits yourself and your family. And that's where Bruce comes in as a personal assistant, I would say. You assist people in their life goals. And that's why we love you so much, Bruce. Bruce Krebs, the Entrepreneur Source, the Entrepreneur Hour. We're going to see you in 2 weeks.
Yep, 2 weeks.
All right, buddy. Give your number again one more time.
423-875-5621.
And your email address.
Bruce, period, E as in Edward, period, Krebs, K-R-E-B-S, @gmail.com.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. This has been the Entrepreneur Hour. Bruce Krebs, the Entrepreneur Source.